Hello everyone, welcome to Knowledge India once again. In this particular tutorial, we are going to talk about infrastructure as code. What we have tried to do here is that we will show you an end-to-end demo, and as part of that, we will try to set up some infrastructure, some servers, and then we'll also go ahead and do some installation on that particular server, and also we'll try to deploy some code. Now we are going to do all of this not manually. Most of this is going to happen via code, and we'll see that how different tools like CloudFormation, Ansible, and Jenkins come together to do this thing for you. The idea is to help you understand that how in today's world you can use different tools to do all of these things via code. In order to do this, we have with us Swati. Swati is joining us from Canada, and she has kindly agreed to do this demo with us. Okay. Hello, Swati.
Hi.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
Thanks.
Great. So I'll hand it over to you. It's all yours. Go ahead, and we would like to learn.
Okay. Thank you. So hello everyone. So today, as he just mentioned, we're going to have infrastructure as a code demo, and we're going to use things like CloudFormation, Ansible, and Jenkins to spin up a web server, basically an IaaS server. So we have this diagram to help you understand what we're going to do in this demo. So first, we're going to use CloudFormation. So using CloudFormation, it's an AWS service. We're going to spin up servers, and the CloudFormation template has capabilities to spin up multiple instances at a time. And after that, the servers that have been created using the CloudFormation would be processed by Ansible. And Ansible here is our configuration management tool. And using Ansible, we'll transform that bare EC2 instance into an IaaS server. That too, everything end-to-end using code. So we're invoking the Ansible using Jenkins. So Jenkins gives us a nice UI to the Ansible, because the open source Ansible version is just a command line tool. So we're wrapping it over with the Jenkins, with the UI layer hosted by Jenkins. So without further ado, let's get started. So we have here is CloudFormation page, services CloudFormation, and I'm here going to create a stack. So here I have already pre-written a CloudFormation script that we'll go through together. But so let's validate it. The template is valid, and create stack. So let's give it some name. Let's call it KI Demo stack. Basically, what this stack is doing is that it's creating a dynamic number of instances, and we have to give it the AMI ID that we need the CloudFormation to take up for spinning up the servers. So I have already fetched the latest AMI ID for Windows 2016 servers. So we're going to use that. And so we're going to create two EC2 instances. So the EC2 instance count, say it's 2. And so we want our EC2 instances to be in different availability zones. So I would want them, one to be in, say, B and the other one to be C. After that, the script asks you what names do you want to give to your servers. So let's say I call them KI Demo 1 and KI Demo 2. The instance size, let's say it's T2 large. A key pair, I've already created a key pair by the name test_ci, so I've selected that. A security group, IIS, I have already created this security group, and we'll go through the inbound and outbound rules of them later on. After that, we'll need subnets to be associated to these instances, so I want them to be in different subnets also. So as according to the availability zones, we'll have 2 subnets one in B and one in availability zone C. The VPC, the volume size, let's trigger it. So while it's getting created, let's just quickly look at the CloudFormation YAML file and see what it's actually doing. So basically this CloudFormation file, as I already told you, is able to create a dynamic number of EC2 instances, which are basically Ansible ready. So what do we mean when we say Ansible ready? So by Ansible ready, I mean that there is this script configure remoting for Ansible.ps1, which is basically been provided by the official Ansible Git repository. So we are basically fetching that, downloading it, and running it on our servers as a part of user data. So this is the script that gets run when the EC2 instances are initiated. So this is the part where we are making our EC2 instances Ansible ready. Also, the other part where I told you about how it is able to configure multiple instances as according to the user value. So as I in my template, I have given it number 2. So I want the instance count to be number 2. So it works on the logic that it sets these conditions. So if we do not provide any value, if we provide just one value, so it checks whether it equals. So if 1 equals 1, the launch 1 is set. If it's 2, and if the instance count is 2, so then it says that if 1 is equals to 2, no, it's not equal. So we have a not configuration on top of it. So this will get set. And if we type in 3, and similarly, it happens for all of them. So if launch 1 condition is set, so EC2 instance 1 resource. So we have written 5 EC2 instance resources as according to the 5 launch configurations. So if the launch 1 is set, the condition is met, then this resource creation would be initiated. Likewise, if I want launch 2 is set along with launch 1, of course, then EC2 instance 2 would get initiated. And similarly, the other instances. So the CloudFormation script basically has the capability to run up to 5 instances. So let's see. Now we can see that the create complete. We are back onto the CloudFormation screen, and it has been created. And as a part of the CloudFormation script, we have outputted out some of the key values that we need eventually. So these are the instance ID of the instances that have been created and the private IP of the instances that have been created. So now just if we go to the instance page and we check for ourselves, you can see that we have created these 2 servers from the CloudFormation template. Now comes the second part of our whole demo. So we are able to complete this part right now, the CloudFormation invocation from the AWS console, and we have Ansible ready EC2 instances. So we have done this path right now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to trigger Jenkins, and that will in turn trigger Ansible, and that will in turn do the configuration management of these EC2 instances and would transform these EC2 instances into IaaS servers. Okay, so this part, this Jenkins and this Ansible installation, I have already done that. It's easily available on the internet how to install Jenkins and Ansible on any Linux machine. So for that, I have already this CI machine for myself. So on this CI machine, I have installed Jenkins and Ansible. And so let's go to the Jenkins. So it runs on the port 8080. So I have taken this public IP and just port 8080. And there's the Jenkins homepage. So this is the job that I've pre-configured. This is the setup job, which basically transforms our EC2 instance into an IaaS server. So let's just run it. And while it's running, I'll go through the script, which is running on the back end.
Swati, I was thinking that before we execute this, we should just quickly try to open both the EC2 instances or one out of that in the browser and see that nothing is running currently, and then we see the
Right.
effect of the script.
Yeah, good idea. Okay, so let's just go to the public DNS and try to hit it for one of the instance and the other instance. So you can see that nothing is installed on top of it. It will just take some time and would return an error. Let's see.
Right. I think we should just go ahead. So
yeah. Okay, so this site can't be reached because nothing is on it. So so now we are going to run this Jenkins job. So basically it takes in these 3 parameters. So basically how Ansible works is that Ansible works in the protocol of Windows Remote Management, WinRM. So basically when I talked about this Ansible Ready PowerShell script, what it's doing is that it's enabling these WinRM protocols on all of these Windows machines so that an Ansible master server can communicate with them. So for an Ansible machine to communicate to any target machine, it needs 2 things. For any target Windows machine, it needs 2 things. Firstly, the WinRM protocol should be enabled. And secondly, we should have the username and password to kind of, authenticate the session. So what my script here it's going to do is that it's going to fetch the initial password of these instances. So as we all know that all of the Windows machines have one initial unique administrator password. So basically to do anything on these machines using Ansible, we'll first need to configure Ansible to use the initial administrator password and then create a new administrator user. So what we want here is that we want all of our servers, in our case 2 servers, we want all of them to have one common administrator user, which Ansible will use subsequently to run its modules. Okay, so what we've done here is that we have created a parameter store entry. So I can show you. So we are here at AWS Systems Manager. And here in the parameter store, I have created a user, first user, and I have put in its password value. So it's a key value pair thing, and we have stored it into the parameter store. So basically, my script, what it's going to do is that it's going to go to the parameter store using AWS CLI, fetch the initial password of the first user, and configure all of these target machines, in our case KI Demo 1 and KI Demo 2, to have an initial user by the name first user. Okay, so that's the first thing that the Jenkins is going to do, so that we have one common administrator user across all of our machines, which we want to configure later on with Ansible. So that's the first thing it's going to do. Then secondly, it's going to initialize the EBS volume. So if I go to any of these machines right now, just for the purpose of this demo, let's try to log in into one machine. And you can see that we do not have the drive D. Okay. Let's use the administrator password, or let's wait the Jenkins to do it itself. What say?
Yep. Let's do that way. And what I would suggest is, before we go ahead, we should probably talk about our CI machines IAM role, so that we understand that how it is interacting with the other 2 machines and maybe other AWS stuff. So let's cover the IAM role part.
Okay, it's a good point. So basically what I've done here is that this CI machine, as I told you, it's going to take in these parameters, stack name, and it's going to query the AWS account and would query the CloudFormation stack, describe stack command, and would get for me all of these outputs that I've listed here. So how is it going to do it? So for the Jenkins machine, or for the CI machine to do it, we have associated a role, CI role to it. and this is the CI role. And that CI role has certain policies attached to it. So for example, it has this parameter store policy, which basically lets it to get parameters and decrypt them also. So they are encrypted in the parameter store. So it should have the, sorry. So here it is encrypted, and I need my CI machine to be able to decrypt it and also to get the parameters. So all these actions have been allowed in the policy, and the decrypt also has been allowed in the policy. On top of that, it also needs to, the CI machine also needs to, get the initial password of these machines. So for that, it needs the EC2 access also. So here I have given it EC2 access also. And also it needs to query the CloudFormation to get these output values. So it needs the access on CloudFormation also. So I have associated the policy for AWS CloudFormation also. So see here, just for the sake of simplicity, I have attached EC2 full access role, but it's always good to use as granular policies as we can. So we can also, filter it out to just the capability to be able to read the password and not the entire access. And likewise for CloudFormation, we can limit it. We can granulate the policy by saying that, you can just describe the stacks. So that's a good practice to follow. But for the sake of simplicity here, I've just attached the EC2 full access and EC2 CloudFormation full access. Okay, so coming back to the Jenkins, so let's run it. And while it's running, I can explain to you what the Jenkins and Ansible is doing on our EC2 instances, which do not, as of now, have anything on top of them, but pretty soon there will be IAS installed on top of them. So the stack name is KI Demo stack. So I am giving the parameter to the script KI Demo stack. First user is first user, region is US East 2, and let's build it. So, so while it is doing what it's supposed to do, let's just quickly go to the setup.sh file. I'll show you one thing. Okay, sorry. So I'll show you this thing that this job, basically it's running a setup.sh script. Okay, and this setup.sh script, it's getting from this GitHub repository. So basically, whenever I run this job, it goes to this repository URL and fetches it out into its Jenkins workspace. And once it's in the workspace, it runs the setup.sh script. And these are the parameters which are input to this script. So let's just quickly browse through the setup script, what it's doing. So firstly, it reads how many instances are created as a part of the CloudFormation stack. So that's it's doing here. So I have a key by the name count in my CloudFormation output section. It's just querying that and saving the number into a variable. After that, I talked about the initial user. So that initial user, it's using AWS CLI to use get parameters command, and as according to the name, so name is at the position 3, and that is for initial user. It's gonna get the value corresponding to the key initial user. So what it's doing is that it's going to create basically I have already configured a host.template file, so it copies it. So this is this host.template file. So in this host.template file, we have placeholders for places like IP, for user, and for password, because these are dynamically created things. As a result of the CloudFormation YAML template, we'll have different IP, different password. So my script, what it's going to do is that it's going to copy this template file and then replace these placeholders with the actual values. So these actual values would be, for example, for the first run, for the very first run, we would need the administrator password of the machine, right? So it's running this EC2 get password data command and storing the initial administrator password and then replacing the placeholder with the value of the password of the administrator password. Okay, so once it has it, okay, so for us to understand this thing, we need to know one thing for sure, that how an Ansible command works. So just to look at an Ansible playbook command, it basically takes in the playbook, Ansible-playbook, that's the name of the playbook, and that is the inventory file. So inventory file has the details as for how the Ansible master is going to form a connection with the target machines. And in the user.yaml file, we basically write down the modules we want to. Basically, modules are just a Python script which does respective actions. So an Ansible playbook command in its entirety is just this, a playbook command and the inventory file. So inventory file keeps the information as to how to make a connection to the machine, and the user.yaml has the list of actions which the Ansible playbook is going to perform onto the destination machine. So here what we're doing is we are changing the host file as according to the password, the initial password, and we are creating a user, the initial user. So that detail is also written in a user.yaml.template file. So we have a user.yaml.template file. It again has all the placeholders for user and password. And these user and password, these are populated on this template file by the initial user. So what we're doing is we have here copied the user YAML template, and after that replacing the password placeholder with the password initial user. Got it? And the user would be the initial user. So basically the user.yaml then gets created and we run it, and we have created a first user on all of these machines. After that, what we're doing is that we are recreating the host file. So the host file will again be created, and it will now have the values of all of the IPs, because now the connection details are same. We have created one administrator user on all of our machines, and so that now we can just use one single host file and club the IPs together and use a common connection detail. So that's what this part of the script is doing. And after that, we are again just running multiple playbooks. So the ebs.yaml playbook, this is to initialize the EBS volume. So as I showed you, the D was not visible on our Windows machines. So once we run this ebs.yaml playbook, the volume would be mounted. After that, we are installing IIS. After that, we are using Chocolatey repository manager. It's very similar to yum or apt-get, what you get in Linux. So this is another package repository manager. So we're using Chocolatey for Windows to install a few of our packages, for example, Google Chrome or AWS CLI or Notepad++, things like that. After that, I'm updating my index file to have a custom welcome page on my IIS. So I'll get back to these ebs.yaml, is.yaml, and chocolatey.yaml, and index.yaml, but let's just see what's the progress on our Jenkins job. I think it's going well. So, okay, we are at the right time. We have installed IIS, but yet not updated the code. So if I try to now refresh this, there should be IIS welcome page. See, there's a IIS welcome page. So this basically shows that the IIS has been installed. You can see it here. So it's basically installing the IIS feature, installing IIS. So basically what it's doing is that at its backend, it's running this is.yaml playbook. I'll show you what it's doing. It's basically using the Win feature module and providing the name is web server, and the state is present. So it's basically using this module to install IIS on it. And likewise for EBS YAML, So what EBS YAML for mounting the EBS volume, what we're doing is we are copying this.txt file that I've written. It shows that the source is file/this.txt. So we have a folder by the name files, and there's this.txt. So what it does is that it initializes the volume, labels it, and then formats it, and it's now available for use. So that's what the EBS YAML is doing. So it copied that this.txt to the destination of our Windows machines, and then it's running the Win shell module. And this Win shell module, what it's doing is that it lets you open a shell, a remote shell, onto our target machine, and then run this command. So this is done, and after that, so we're done with is.yaml and ebs.yaml. This chocolatey.yaml is using WinChoco, WinChocolatey module, which basically lets you loop through all of these packages which I want on my target machine. So it's, again, the state is present. It's going to install all of them. And lastly, it's going to update the index.yaml file, and that is just copying it. It copies my is.htm, and it's updating my initial index file onto the root of IIS. So that's what it's doing. So now I'm back onto the Jenkins page, and now we can see that the code has also been changed. The index.html file has also been updated. So now if we try to refresh it, it should have our updated welcome page. So it says hello from Knowledge India.
I think that's really good. So I would like to summarize, guys, for all of you. Like we saw a lot of things, right, which Swati showed. Just to summarize what we did, our CloudFormation, CloudFormation stack helped us to create the machines, but those machines did not have anything installed. And then what happened? We executed via Jenkins. We executed Ansible code. Ansible code did this work that it went ahead, created a new admin user in all the machines, right? And the name of that user we are calling as first user. You can give whatever name you like, right? And in order to make things secure, we did not keep the password of that new user anywhere hard coded. We kept it in the parameter store. So Ansible code actually brought it from the parameter store. Then after that, basically use that password and created the users in our Windows machines. Further, after that, IIS got installed. You saw that, and additional volume also. I mean, as part of CloudFormation, the new volume was created. But then that in case of Windows, you might want to format the volume. You might want to label it. All of such things, Swati showed that how you can do it via code, right? So you should be able to relate these things, right? Whenever you are creating servers in your organization, there might be a lot of stuff which you would like to do at the OS level as part of OS hardening. All such things you can go ahead and do with this approach as part of your code, and you do not have to go and actually manually do all of that stuff one by one on all the machines. You can use the configuration management tool to do such things. And at last, you saw that how we brought our our HTML page as part of IIS, and then you were able to see it. I think now we will go and see that how in the machine you have got two volumes. Yeah.
So we have our drive D. Yeah. So we
Right.
have our drive D over here. We have our IIS installed. So there's IIS is installed. I can show you that Chrome is also here. We've got Chrome, which we installed using the Chocolatey manager. So it's just the tip of the iceberg. You can do whatever you want to do. It's just the whole idea of how you use the Ansible as a cloud configuration manager and do what your needs are.
Right.
So
good work here. So I hope that this demo would have helped you. We have tried to stitch multiple things here for you, and sometimes it might be that you might want to go back and see the demo once again, right? Because maybe when you are seeing for the first time, you might not get hold of everything. So I would request you to maybe pause and see it again. We'll try to share the code for this thing. We'll see. We'll probably update it in the description section. We'll be bringing more such videos for you. So subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends if you like this. And I'll thank Swati once again for her help here.